Hello, witches and wizards, and welcome back to episode 2 of Potterwatch, the unofficial best voted for by me podcast dedicated to all things Harry Potter, Wizarding World, Fantastic Beasts, you name it, you'll find that stuff here. And of course, this is our first episode of breaking down the Harry Potter books chapter by chapter as we explore the Wizarding World from Harry's being left on the doorstep all the way to the final battle in Deathly Hallows. Of course, this being the first episode, we are looking at Chapter 1, The Boy Who Lived. I've got my very old original copy of Philosopher's Stone. This is published in 2001, so it's not from like the 1997 onwards. It's when the films were released, so up to this point, the first 4 books have been released. I guess before we dive into it, I first read the books when I was 7, so I was in year 3. And if you know anything about British schools, you've got to learn how to read first, obviously, as Snape would say, and you're given specific children's books. But once you've shown that you're actually competent, you can go and pick a book you want to read. And I died for Philosopher's Stone. Obviously, I had it at home, but I'd never read it myself. My grandma bought me it all the way back in 2003. So it's been here a very, very long time. And I remember reading Philosopher's Stone in maybe a week. And, you know, as a kid, you play football, you go out, pretty good going for a 223-page book. And then by the time book 7 came out, so it was the year after, I read up to like Order of the Phoenix. I bought book 7 and I just had it sitting there for so long wanting to read it, but I had to finish the other books first. Oh, it was torture. And yeah, and like I said, I've read them many, many times, of course, delved deep into them back to front. But no, as always, as I asked last time, obviously leave your thoughts on this chapter, your sort of theories, what your talking points are, your takeaways from it. And obviously, if there's any questions or things you want to ask me about the chapter or any other things Harry Potter, which we can sort of incorporate into this, do of course down below. Do subscribe, like, share, hype the video up, all that fun stuff with YouTube. But yes, without further ado, we're going to get into chapter 1 of the first book, Philosopher's Stone. And I guess we should just talk about this book for a second. How amazing, cram-packed it is for 223 pages. There's so much in here. There's so much to talk about. Obviously, it's split into 17 chapters, so this is going to be over 17 weeks we do this. It'll be interesting to see what we think of it now compared to the end. But the way it is written, it is good. You know, it's a brilliant children's book. They don't go into too much detail. They don't bog down like an Order of a Thing. It's a Goblet of Fire where the exams is like a whole chapter. It's just a sentence in this book. But it's such a good introduction. Of course, in chapter 1, a little overview for you. If you don't know what chapter 1 is, it is The Boy Who Lived. It's set 10 years before the actual events of the actual story. So we're in 1980. We're on November 1st, which was a Sunday, not a Tuesday. We're going to get into that in a second. And we are seeing this chapter through the eyes of 2 different people. First off, Vernon Dursley, who is Harry's uncle, and then Albus Dumbledore. So again, this is something etched into my brain. Just for the opening, I guess, first of all, Mr. and Mrs. Dursley of number 4 Privet Drive were proud to say they were perfectly normal. Thank you very much. I just love that line. Just like, thank you very much. Just had so much. Actually, thank you very much. We are not weird. I just love that part. And of course, we are set out, and sometimes Harry J.K. Rowling, I guess we'll name her. We'll call her the author. She who must not be named. The author sometimes does this in the early books where it's quite story like. Our story starts on a dull grey Tuesday. Of course, we know, if you get a calendar out, and I'm not sure how hard this would have been back in 1997 to look at a past calendar. You would know that November 1st is a Sunday in 1981 normally. I think I might say 1980 before it is 1981. This, yeah, it's not a Tuesday. It's a Sunday. So there we go. We're gonna get a lot of fun with the inconsistency of days through this because this is gonna be a very pedantic little podcast. But no, we then obviously get to meet the Dursleys. The description of Mr. Dursley having a very large moustache, not really neck, not very much neck, and he's massive. He's just a big fat man, Mr. Blobby style with a mustache. Mrs. Dursley's the complete opposite. Horse face, long neck for craning over garden fences, blonde, very snooty woman. And obviously their son, um, Dudley, who is about nephew's age because they have everything they want, but they have a secret. And what I do notice about this, it's not until chapter 4 you get any mention of wizards. So throughout this chapter, no one says the words wizard, no one's described as a wizard. We don't know. There's something odd about these people we meet, but none of them are described as wizards. We don't hear that word for such a long time. And I do think if you've not, unless you've read the blurb, um, which literally says wizard, you probably think, oh, what is this? Like when you first read it, which I do like that. So yeah, it mentions obviously the Dursleys had Mrs. Dursley has a sister called Lily Potter, or Mrs. Potter. I don't think we hear the word Lily until Hagrid comes along, which again they just don't like to speak about them. Mrs. Potter was Mrs. Dursley's sister and her good-for-nothing husband, and I like that description because, as we know, obviously it's almost viewed as like James dragged her into that world, even though she was part of it before James. Obviously, getting married to him, like the resentfulness of by marriage, they're sort of, especially Mr. Dursley, is like forced into this world, and obviously they hate that. So yeah, we hear about that, and then he's humming. He's going to work. And one thing I picked up on was that Dudley was throwing cereal about. And if you know anything about Miss Dursley, she hates mess. She hates just uncleanliness. And like he gets called a little tag by Uncle Vernon, or Vernon, his dad at this point, not his uncle, obviously. And but I just can't imagine like Missy does sit there and go, oh yes, Diddums. She might be saying it, but like, oh, what are you doing, Miss? Like, stop messing it up. This is such a nice house, but not yet. Dudley never gets away. He gets away with everything, doesn't he? He's just the spoiled little brat of a child, and obviously Dumbledore, several books time, it sort of explains like as much as Harry got rubbish and you treat him horrible, at least he turn out like him. And they're like, what? Dudley's parents like, yeah, mate, just look at him. And yeah, just stuff like that, just cutting it out, nipping it in the bud. But they don't. And it's like, oh, it's if anyone asked, if Harry was doing that as a baby, he probably got thrown in the cupboard or something. But Dudley, no, no, no. So we follow Vernon to work. He is a director of a firm called Grunnings, which sells drills, and he notices a lot of very strange things about at this point. First up, a cat reading a map. Yes, so we do know later on it's got to be Minerva McGonagall. But how does is in a cat form? How's she holding the map? That's why I'm always like, does she have it on the floor and she's looking down at it? What is she doing with the map? How is she holding it? Is she part transformed and is hiding human hands? It makes no sense. I want to know. I want to know. But yeah, even though I know it's a wizard, I find that strange. He then obviously sees some young people dressing all crazy in ways. He's stuck in traffic and he hates young people and their get up, their fancy dress, their fashion sense. How old's Vernon at this point? Like, I'm 26 now, and obviously we know that Lily was 21. So let's say Petunia's 24, 25 at this point. She won't have been too. I think she's like 2 or 3 years old. So yeah, even 23, 24. How old's it Vernon to be calling young people? Like, what is young people to him? Like, he obviously he seems a lot older than he's probably meant to be. I think like the TV show, he probably looks about the right age. But yeah, is he meant to be 30? Is he quite a bit older than Petunia? I just don't know. Like, if we're taking Petunia at 23, 24, he can't be that much older. It's getting a bit creepy. So let's say he's 28. Do I say young people? I'm going 27 this year. I don't know. I don't think I'm looking at like 19. Oh, those young people. He obviously it's just I just find that weird. But he obviously then sees some people are much older than him. Like, well, yeah. I mean, you might be 30. God, you got that old Bergen. Calm down. Don't age too much. Don't age too much at all. So he gets to work and he's sat away from the window and owls are flying about. Oh, owls. I've never seen an owl fly about thinking about it. I was thinking, would it be that odd? I know seeing loads of owls would be, but I can't think I have ever seen an owl. I've never looked out my window and gone, oh, look, it's an owl. Yeah. And then he does something very Vernon Dursley. He's got a secretary. He's got people working for him. He can just demand stuff. And this rather large person decides to stretch his legs. And I just feel like this is not Vernon Dursley. I feel like he'd snap at his secretary, Deirdre, we'll call her. Oh, Deirdre, donut, please, or cake, please, bun, please. Go out to the shop. Here's £5. Because that's what I'd do if I was a boss, you know. Trust me, I've done shop runs for people who are my bosses. But no, he's like, I'm going to stretch my legs. And I just don't feel like that's very Vernon Dursley. So he goes for a bun, comes out with a donut. I think that's an upgrade, to be fair. And he hears the whispers of the Potter, the weird people in cloaks. They mention the name Potter. That's all he hears. You know, yes, as the quote says. I've got the book here, so I don't know why I'm not quoting the book. He says, let me get to it. This is go get better, trust me. The Potters, that's right. That's what I heard. Yes, their son, Harry. Mr. Dursley stopped dead. Fear flooded him, and he runs off, and he's like crapping himself, like, oh god, weird people in cloaks, Potters, Harry. That sounds like my nephew. And then he's like, proper denial here, like, nice, you know, it could be any Potter's not an unusual name, is it? You know, weird people in clothes. How about me? There's loads of them called Potter. Harry, he could be called Harold. Like what? I know he says like Harvey, Harold, but it was like, oh, he could be called Harold. Yeah, because Harry could be a shortened version for Harold. That's what I was thinking. Anyway. Like that's clearly the shortened version. So your worries are still very real, Uncle Dursley, Vernon, Percy. I don't know why I forgot his name there, Vernon. So he's about to ring his wife up, and he's like, no, you know what? I won't do that. I will just go and chill. You know, she gets worked up. I wouldn't blame her if I had a sister like that. Well, as we learn, his sister is a bit horrible. I mean, she's got a mustache. She's like, yeah, Marge. Trust me, I'm preferring wizards, even if they are weird, over Marge Dursley. Oh. And weirdly enough, on a tangent again, we get a lot of Marge in this early, but like these first few chapters, you hear a lot about how horrible Marge is, and then like Chamber, you know, because he doesn't spend much time there, she doesn't. I mean, obviously she appears, he blows her up, and then she's just thankfully never mentioned again. You know, like oh, let's not have her come back. You know, we can't be having that. So I do like that. So yeah, he then just gets through work, and then as he's walking out of work, he bumps into a small man in a purple cloak, not a quote, and this man's like, oh, he's like, oh, I'm sorry, and the man he beams into a smile and says, um, in a squeaky voice that made passers-by stare, don't be sorry, my dear sir, for nothing could upset me today. Rejoice, for you know who has gone at last. Even muggles like yourselves should be celebrating this happy, happy day. The old man hugged Miss Dursley around the middle and walked off. And I've always thought, is this Daedalus Diggle? But we get later on in the chapter that he might be down in Kent letting off shooting stars. But his description of like a purple cloak and hat and, you know, stuff like that. It's just like, is this Diggle? Is this Diggle? Because yeah, purple cloak. Maybe he hasn't got the top hat on. Maybe I just always think this is Daedalus Diggle, and obviously I've seen the picture of this scene in the Harry Potter TV show, the sort of lead scene that came out, and yeah, it's interesting. But I always thought that was Diggle, but it's obviously not because he's down in Kent, as McGonagall says later on. So it's just some random man in a purple cloak with a squeaky voice. Not my Diggle. And obviously, this is the first time we hear the word Muggle. It's just like, what? What? And again, obviously, you just wish you could have your memory like zapped and like, oh, let me read this again. Like, what could Muggle be? Oh, what Muggle? Like, I just love to experience that, like watching the TV show, maybe even as the first time, if we're going to have all this stuff in, like this whole sort of scene. Because again, sort of the movies do cut all this part out. This is obviously not a movie thing. We sort of start with Dumbledore coming onto the street, which we are going to get to in a second. But yeah, he gets home. You know, he's still a bit on edge, and like, but Tune's had a lovely day. You know, talking about the neighbours next door. Dudley learning the word shan't, which basically means shall not, which is a very Dudley word, isn't it? I shan't do that. No, and I feel like it's not a word I used to probably say it as a youngster. I feel like it's something you probably say as a kid rather than now. Maybe people down south, but yeah, we shan't be doing that. No, shan't. And apparently, it's not in the US version. if you didn't watch or listen to episode 1 of the podcast, we learned that Shant in our quiz is only in the UK version of a Philosopher's Stone version. So I'm not sure what the Sorcerer's Stone has as the word Shant. Like, does it just replace it completely with a different word? If you are American, obviously have access to that book, let me know down below. What word does sharp replace with? He then obviously goes to watch the news, still very distracted. We've got the newscaster talking about owls, shooting stars over Yorkshire, Dundee, and all over the place. And then we hear about bonfire night, which isn't until next week, folks. But if this was Tuesday in this story, on the 1st of November, Wednesday 2nd, Thursday 3rd, Friday 4th, it'd actually be on Saturday, the bonfire night again. I don't think she had it down as Halloween night. His parents were clearly killed at this point, which is odd. And yeah, you think of it now, but it's never explicitly said this is November 1st, or it's just Dull Grey Tuesday. And obviously it's been being changed, retconned, obviously to fit the story. But yeah, so there you go. It actually being that week if it was. He then braves up and asks, "Have you heard about his sister lately?" Which Petunia does not like. She comes very cold, like, "No." He's called Harry, nasty common name. And this is where Vernon Dursley absolutely shits himself. It's like, oh no, oh god, it was them, wasn't it? But then another set of denial comes in as he goes to bed. As he's like, this will affect us, and the line, how very wrong he was. And I just love that. It's like, yeah, it is very wrong, because he's going to affect your life for the next 16 years. Unlucky, mate. You have been very, very wrong. And we then cut to the cat on the street. And one thing Vernon touches on is when he comes back, he can't scare the cat off. He's like, shoo, it doesn't move, it's still there. He's like, is this normal cat behavior? He's like, have you never seen or heard anyone speak about cats? Like, have you never, are you just like, what is this? I don't understand cats. I've never thought about it before. Like, yeah, it's a cat. Like, come on. It's not normal cat behavior, is it? Um, and of course, he doesn't like imagination. He's like, I hope I'm imagining this. I hope. He's like, no, I hate imagination. I can just imagine the eternal conflict. He's like, oh, I hope. No, I don't hope I imagine this. Imagination is terrible. It's like, oh no, but maybe I should be imagining this because this isn't great. So after the cat, at the end of the street, a man pops out of nowhere, or almost like he popped out of nowhere. And this man has a very long robe on, hair and beard that he could tuck into his belt twice over, and buckled shoes, and a broken nose at least twice. And this man is Albus Dumbledore. And I love this introduction as a character. He just almost pops out of nowhere. He's on a street where everything from his name to his boots would be hated. He's in the most normal suburban place in the country. This is Bland Street number 1. Like, this is proper street. No nonsense, no weird. We all know that sort of street. Prim and proper. And he pops out and he giggles at the cat, or chuckles. He doesn't go. He's more like a. There's your etymology between giggle and chuckle. Giggle, is it? Chuckle. And he whispers, "I should have known you'd be here, Professor McGonagall." Or that's in the film. In the book, it's just, "I should have known." And then he pulls out a cigarette lighter. And obviously, we come to learn this is the Deluminator, but at this point, we do just know it as the put outer, as the author describes it. He flicks out all the lights 12 times, pew pew pew, so not even BGI Mrs. Dursley. And I always think, will this not draw attention? Because I feel like if the lights start going off, you can sort of sense it even in your sleep. And then if all of them are just going off, you're probably like more perchance to look out on the street, because you're like, what the hell's going on down there? Like, why is the electricity off? What's going on? I feel like this would draw more attention rather than just having the lights off. But hey, that's just me. He then goes over to Professor McGonagall, who transforms from a tabby cat to a severe looking woman with emerald green cloak, tight black hair. If this is a Tuesday, why wasn't she teaching? She's just sat on this wall all day. She's not done anything. It's a Tuesday, November 1st. Pretty sure school should be in session. But there we go. Maybe they've got the day off because of the news about Voldemort, but then she doesn't believe it until Dumbledore tells her. So it's like, well, it can't have been given a day off, because if she'd have known about that, that's like Dumbledore going, yeah, Voldemort's dead or disappeared, etc. But no, she's just like, I don't believe it. I'm just going to sit out on this wall. I know he's going to be here. Sorry, class. Yeah, I'd be like, Professor, why did you cancel all your lessons today? And see what she said about that. But no, Dumbledore doesn't. He then brings up and obviously offers her a sherbet lemon, which is just like, why is he so obsessed with like this sherbet? Like, I want to know what the obsession is with sherbet lemon and Dumbledore, basically. Like, why do you think sherbet lemons are just that nice? Because they're not. They're just not at all. And obviously, Professor McGonagall is not impressed by the sort of celebrations that have been going on. And one thing that sort of ticks me off is like, how did you know it was me? It's like, well, Professor, I've known you for however many years. Like at this point, obviously not including Fantastic Beasts, which is something we'll touch on later on, probably when it's discussed. We're all talking 40 years at this point. It's like, how often will he have seen her as a cat? And I'm guessing a lot. She's like an animator. She can sort of blending. It'd be good for undercover work for the Order of the Phoenix. If she was part of the original one, I can't remember if she was. I don't know actually if she even was. If she's even part of this one at the moment, I don't even know if she not this one, the one in the future. I don't actually know. Something to think about. But yeah, it's like, but you know, markings, square markings around the eyes. Like that's your sign. It's obviously you. Like I don't know why she's so ruffled about that. But yeah, she's not impressed with everyone partying, celebrating, out in broad daylight, and muggles, owls shooting stars. She's like that Deadless Diggle down. I bet that was Deadless Diggle down in Kent. Oh. Because yeah, she's just sort of sat on the wall. And something interesting, I actually read something like, yeah, everyone out is there celebrating. She's a bit peed off and like she sits on that wall all day. Maybe she's just in mourning for like James and Lily, like good people, nice friends. Probably she's in the order, she's taught them. And it's just horrible. She's probably like, it's not appropriate. Like two people have lost their lives. Like this baby's lost their mum and dad. She could actually just be mourning, sort of like that loss. And it's like, is it the time to celebrate? Probably not. And I sort of respect that from her. But yeah, so I'm back. Don't know if anyone's noticed. Got a different t-shirt on. Yeah. Don't wear white when you're eating a chili for lunch. It falls down you, obviously. So obviously we talked about McGonagall being the only one not to believe, and it is a bit odd that like everyone else is out partying, celebrating. I talked about how she might not feel it appropriate, but she also just doesn't believe the news yet. She can't believe like a baby taking down Voldemort or you know who, as we're about to discuss. She finds that hard to believe, and she seems to be the only one, because surely it'd be in the news, because owls aren't spraying that fast, because this happened Halloween night. This is like 24 hours later, so owls aren't getting to people by like 7:30 a.m. when 8:30 a.m. when Vernon's out the door and everyone's celebrating already. No, this has got to be in the Daily Prophet. Rita Skeeter's probably down there outside the Potter's home, being an absolute dick, like trying to get Hagrid or maybe even Sirius Black, as we'll touch on. And yeah, it's just like, oh, shut up. Rita, I don't know why I'm getting angry about this. Imagine a scenario with Rita Skeeter outside there. But no, obviously I'd love to have seen the Daily Prophet headline for this, like, Voldemort gone? Question mark. Yeah, I just don't know. But she then obviously is pressing Dumbledore about this, and she goes, obviously he bows his head with her, and she's talking about the celebration. She's not happy about that. And she's like, not even dressed as muggles, swapping rumours. And then she's like, it's nothing to what the owls are flying about. And then, is he really gone, Dumbledore? It certainly seems so. We have much to be thankful for. Talk about the sherbet lemon. And then obviously we talk about my dear professor, surely someone as sensible as you can call him by his name, Voldemort. And this is the first time we hear it uttered, obviously this you-know-who nonsense. And I love how it is like just a thing, like only Dumbledore, Sirius, Lupin, and Harry ever really having the balls or the know how to say Voldemort. A lot of other people just don't. I know Hermione says it in like the fifth book, all brave like the Voldemort. But everyone else, obviously, you know who, the Dark Lord, all that stuff. They're the four people who only really ever speak it properly. Maybe Moody off the top of my head, don't think he does. So I don't think we ever hear like Moody go Voldemort. But obviously, yeah, um, Sirius always says it. Remus says it. You know, like the people, and that's why they're like the brave. I feel like Remus and Sirius are like really underappreciated how brave they are, and like fight. You know, straight out of school fighting. You know, and all that. You know, and obviously massive father figures to Harry then three. Obviously, I know Hagrid is as well, but yeah, Dumbledore, Remus, Sirius, all very father-like figures. You know, they knew his father very close to his father. Probably the three closest people outside Pettigrew as well to his father. So yeah, um, something to just think about how that rubs off on Harry. And then obviously she's like, only because you're too noble to use it, and you know, talk about using dark magic as we know in his youth, or we will come to find out 6 books from now. It's sort of weird retrospectively, in looking at the books, because you sort of pick up on stuff like, oh well, he's too noble to use them. Well, Minerva, hold your hats, because back in his youth, and she sort of should know, because at this time of the book she wasn't, but obviously she's been somehow shoehorned into Fantastic Beasts and where to find them. Oh, the second, third one, not the first one. So she should know about his relationship with Grindelwald and maybe some of the stuff he ended up doing, But again, here he's too noble. He'd never do it, but we do find out at one point in time he would have been interested to use dark magic to rule over Muggles. And he blushes. He's like, "Oh, I've not blushed this much since he's." Madame Pomfrey complimenting on his earmuffs, and I feel like this first book Dumbledore's quite like silly way, and a lot of things like this, like all them sort of silly whimsical things of the books, like these first 2 or 3 books, everything's a bit more odd, bit more strange, bit more like oh earmuffs, and as we'll learn about the Scar of the Underground. I don't think you're getting that in Order of the Phoenix, Half-Blood Prince. I don't think you can't have Dumbledore reveal he's got a scar of the London Underground in Half-Blood Prince, but it somehow works in this book. And obviously, Voldemort showed up in Godric's Hollow, where the Potters lived, and obviously Godric being Godric Gryffindor. So again, sort of laying that foundation quite early on about Godric Hollow. And I don't know why Harry never puts it together, like Godric Hollow, Godric Gryffindor. Like, it's not a very common name, Harry. He probably should have put that one together. I'm going to be honest, but he doesn't. The rumor is Lily and James are dead. I can't believe that. I didn't want to or Albus, and then she starts crying. Couldn't kill Harry Potter. Voldemort's power somehow broke, and that's why he's gone. Dumbledore nodded gloomily. It's true. After all he's done, after all the people he killed, he couldn't kill a little boy, and that is why he's the boy who lived. And he just goes, we can only guess. And obviously, I'm not saying after 24 hours, Dumbledore knows like exactly what's happened, but surely at this point, he must have been reveling. He's aware of as we're going to come to find out, the prophecy. This is going to be a big overarching thing, which we'll look back on the series. And obviously, I'm going to incorporate a bit of like the Super Carlin Brothers sort of like Dumbledore theory, because I think I might say in this episode or episode 1, some of their stuff do get a bit outlandish, like friend George Weasley adopted. Like what? No. But the Dumbledore sort of like grand plan theory, I do subscribe to it. It is good to sort of like look at it that way. It also helps the story flow a bit better. I think sometimes theories support the story, even if they're not true. It's like, actually, yeah, that makes more sense than the original theory. And I'm guessing, obviously, after 24 hours, this guy thought Sirius Black was the keeper. And we're going to come on to Sirius Black in a second. And he doesn't flinch when he hears the name Sirius Black. But he must know that Lily and James dead because Sirius betrayed them. But Dumbledore doesn't react to that, and we're going to get onto that in a second. But obviously, I don't think he knows that Lily's love saved him just yet. We're gonna, and I don't know how or when he figures it out, because he's gonna have to cast the spell. I don't know if the letter contains it or how that spell was done. For the blood protection, so that it passes down. So he has to, as long as he's at Petunia's house, he's safe. So again, he must come to that realization even now, and he just doesn't want to tell McGonagall. Or does he come back and do it, or does that, because he's the one who casts that spell to make sure it carries on into Lily. And obviously we know it's a howler of sorts. Remember my last, which is the original letter he sends, as we learn in Order of the Phoenix. He sent Petunia the first letter. And obviously then McGonagall asks, like, I don't suppose tell me why you're here. After Dumbledore looks at a very odd watch. It has 12 hands but no numbers. Instead, little planets were moving around the edge. it must make sense, Dumbledore. And I've always found this watch really intriguing. Like, maybe it's something like, does it? It should be something he hands back down. Like, it has a special ability. Can he tell? Like, is it like the Weasley clock, or does it tell him the future? Like, or Hagrid will be here in a few minutes, but does it sense danger? I've always wanted to know about this clock because obviously we know the centaurs look up at the planets a lot, and a lot of astrology and astronomy, is about predicting things. Astrology mainly, because trust me, Professor Shire in Hogwarts Legacy does not like you thinking the planets can tell the future in astronomy. No, no, no. So is it something like that? Because then he finds other stuff to do with very wishy-washy, like divination. He doesn't like the subject. But yeah, is it something that can predict? I'd love to know your thoughts because it is very odd. It never gets really mentioned again, and I feel like it should be something a bit like the Illuminator that comes back up in Deathly Hallows, but it doesn't. And obviously Hagrid, for the first time, we're gonna get a big. We should have like a Hagrid calendar. Blab about Hagrid. He has blabbered to Professor McGonagall that he will be here, bringing Harry here, and then obviously she's shocked to and appalled to find out that Dursleys is where he's going, and she does not like it. Like, um, you can't mean these people who live here, Dumbledore. You can't. I've been watching them all day. You couldn't find two people who are less like us, and they've got this son. I saw him kicking his mother all the way up the street, screaming for sweets. Um, and obviously, I think Hagrid in a later chapter, obviously when he comes to take Harry away, is like, "Oh, you grew up with the two biggest muggles imaginable." It's like she almost means that. Like, she doesn't use muggle as the insult, but it's like they hate magic, and like magic probably scares them. And she might know a bit about Petunia from Lily, a conversation we might have had, and also that sort of, they're just like so horrible people, like especially the shoeing of a cat. I'm guessing she'll have got more perspective on Petunia than Vernon. But yeah, I'm not impressed, and obviously it's the best place. We know that the reason it's the best place is because it's the only living relatives, which always bothers me. Like, it wasn't at this point they were 21. I don't think that was thought out, but how unlucky have you got to be to lose all four of your grandparents by the age of like 24? Like, we never really get to. We know James' parents were very old when they had him, and they died of like dragonpox. You know what? Cool, fair enough. They've died in the last few years, but I'm not having that Lily's parents are dead. If she's 21, they might be like 50. What have they? They both died of like in a car crash. A car crash killed Lily and James Potter's parents-in-law. It's an outrage. It's a scandal. But yeah, where are they? I know it's just plot convenience, but why are they dead? But obviously, we know it's not the best place for him, to be honest. Let's be honest. But it is because it will keep him safe. And he's written a letter that explains it all. She's not happy about the letter either. She's like, a letter? They'll never understand it. It could be known as Harry Potter Day, which ironically is not. Today is not Harry Potter. The 31st of the 1st of November, 31st of October is not Harry Potter Day. Harry Potter Day, maybe Muggle World is celebrated on like the 1st of September. Obviously, when you get back to Hogwarts Day, a bit like May the 4th would be with you. 1st of September, that's like proper Harry Potter Day. And then obviously Hagrid's bringing him. You think it wise to trust Hagrid with something as important, miss? I would trust Hagrid with my life. And again, massive trait of Dumbledore. A bit shade. Like, McGonagall and Hagrid must have been working for a while at this point. It's not like the newest like still figuring out. He's a bit clumsy. They do build up a relationship, and it's like at this point she's still like, oh, I don't know about that Hagrid guy. But obviously Dumbledore he's trusted him since he got expelled. He's always got to trust like Hagrid. Trust Dumbledore with everything. Just Dumbledore has trust with other people than Snape. I mean, a child called Harry Potter is going to have a lot of trust in. Like, his final words are, "Harry's the greatest hope we've got. Trust him." Like that trust, Dumbledore's trust means everything. If you've got Dumbledore's trust, everyone's going to believe. Like, he got Snape out of Azkaban. Yeah, I trust Snape, mate. That's why he's not in Azkaban. That's why his teacher got Hogwarts. Like, he should be in Azkaban. That's a convicted fellow. Let's be honest, a convicted Death Eater. That Dumbledore trusts him, so it's all okay. So again, that trust is a massive thing. And then a low rumbling sound broke on the silence around them. It grew steadily loud, and they looked up and down the street. Some a sign of headline. It swelled to a roar. And at this point, roaring motorcycle on your street, you go look out the window, and you'll be thinking, why are all the lights off? You go outside and probably have a look. I'm just saying, bit of a flaw in this plan. I know the last chapter of Deathly Hallows is a flaw in the plan. I've already found a flaw in the plan in this. Yeah, massive flaw there. And then it was a motorbike was huge. It was nothing to the man sitting astride it. He was almost twice the tall as a normal man. And I think we found out like Hagrid's like 10 foot. So obviously, yeah, like that is literally almost twice as tall. You know, you think average man's probably like 5'10". We'll say 6 foot, and we'll go 12. I'm a bit below 6 foot, but yeah, just a bit below that. And at least 5 times as wide. I just think like, yeah. I mean, Robbie Coltrane does it well. I don't know if Nick Frost looks. He's got a very shallow face, like hollow face now. It's not as round and friendly. Don't think he's as well. He's just tall. This sort of version of Hagrid. Um, it was wild, long tangles of bushy black hair and a beard covering most of his things. His hands the size of dustbin lids. And they are so big. Again, I don't think the film sort of portrays it that way. And feet, leather boots were like baby doll things. Like, what? Like the size or how they looked? Because I don't think the leather boots are looking like baby doll things, but there we go. And he's vast muscular. Muscular as well. Because I always just think Hagrid's like puffy. You know, like warm, friendly, puffy. But he's got muscular arms. Like he was carrying a baby. Um, and I was reading something today. It's never really clicked. This happened 24 hours ago, basically. Why is it taking Hagrid that amount of time to get him and get him on a flying motorbike? If we're saying Godric's Hollow's in like the West Country is where we're thinking, so like Bristol area, to get to Surrey on a flying motorbike, it shouldn't be taking all that time. Yeah, he's got to get rid of the rubble. I don't know when he got there. You know, did Dumbledore find about this in the morning, or yeah, when did people like? Because surely they filled a bag shop, maybe. Who's reporting like the house is getting the house was blown up, smithereens, Voldemort's gone, dashed. Who were the first people? And obviously he then starts going. Muggles start swarming around right before the Muggles start swarming around. So, like, I'm not being funny. If a house blew up, I'm getting there straight away, like looking about, like, holy crap, am I in danger? I'm not waiting till morning unless it was the quietest explosion you've ever heard. Why is it taking so long to get here? But there we go. But yeah, borrowed it, Professor Dumbledore, sir. Young Sirius Black lent it me. No problems were there. So at this point, obviously, why didn't Dumbledore think, oh God, Sirius, unless this like click like, oh yes, Sirius, he's a secret keeper. He's the one who's let it slip to Voldemort. Damn it. Well, you know, maybe he thought Sirius was getting tortured or something, I don't know, but this confirms he was there at the house, and obviously as we learn in Prisoner, he was begging to take Harry. So yeah, just a very interesting I've never actually thought of that until just reading now. It's not in my original notes. Like Dumbledore should be like serious. Oh, he's the reason, but he doesn't at this point. It's like, oh, no problems with it. None, sir. The house were almost destroyed, but I got him out, and then he fell over asleep as we're flying over Bristol. So it must be like even further down from Bristol, which is crazy. So far south, Godric's Hollow, and there was a curiously shaped cut on the baby's head. It's like a light of bolting. A bolt, like a light of bolting, like a bolt of lightning. Oh God, I'm having a stroke. Is that where? Yes, he'll have that scar forever. Couldn't you do something about it? Even if I could, I wouldn't. And I'm at this point like, yeah. If you go have a scar, have it be a cool scar. A lightning bolt scar is cool. Like the reason everyone probably knows about this is Hagrid told everyone at the pub one night, like, "Oh yeah, I rescued that Harry Potter, and he's got a lightning bolt scar on his head," and like, everyone knew it's legend, you know. And I agree with them. Even if I want a bolt of lightning, like I want that lightning scar. I've got a scar on this one here, just here. It's boring. It's a boring scar. Nothing at all. So yeah, get me a bolt of lightning. And then yeah, the above my left knee, which is a perfect map of the London Underground. And it's like no one picks him up on that question. Like, what the fuck? Dumbledore? What are you talking about? You've got a map of the. Do you know how big the London Underground is? How big is this guy's knee? Just a bit wacky and stuff, and again, something you're not getting away with in the later books at all. Like, Harry's like, "Sir, are you okay?" And also, it's sad that he never has to use it. I'd love the like, you know, on Dumbledore, you know, like when it's Harry's hearing at the Ministry in fifth year is like, oh God, I've got to get on. Oh, what train do I've got to get on? Like the Elizabeth line. I don't know many lines in the underground of London, but there we go. And then obviously they want to get it done quick. Dumbledore took Harry in his arms and turned towards Dudley's house. Could I say goodbye to him, sir? Asked Hagrid. He then great shaggy head over Harry and gave him what must have been a very scratchy, whiskery kiss, and then he held like a whirling dog. Like, how have these people not been caught? These are the nosiest neighbours. This is like a proper middle class suburban suburb, and no one's looking out their windows at this point. It's pitch black. There's been a loud motorcycle, hoodlums, as Vernon Dursley would call them in a later chapter, the next chapter. But yeah, no one's at this point just looked out and be like, "Oh, what's going on down there?" I don't believe it. Maybe you should have put like a. I reckon there's a spell that like makes like muffliato. No one can hear you. It's got everyone buzzing. It spell like that. Use that, Dumbledore. McGonagall then shouts at Hagrid like she wasn't just crying like 2 minutes ago. Let the man cry. You were crying. And he's like, oh, we don't want to be caught. Like, yeah, just let him cry though, McGonagall. You're being harsh on Hagrid. Bit harsh on him at this point. I don't like it. They obviously walked him to the door, put him on there, and for a full minute, the three of them then stood and looked at the little bundle. Hagrid's shoulders shook. Professor McGonagall blinked furiously, and the twinkling light that was in Dumbledore's eyes was put out, and I love that. Like, you don't see a lot of times Dumbledore grieve. He's always got to be the face leader, the man with the straight face, like, oh, support others, like, just so he can be like, on at this point he's like heartbroken. It's like not even he can show like that strong face at this point, and he's like, well, said Dumbledore, that's we've no business staying here. We may as well go and join the celebrations. They don't all go back to Hogwarts together. No, like, we all live at Hogwarts, but well, we won't go back together. Dumbledore's like, so Hagrid, best get this bike away. Obviously, got to get it back to Sirius. Fair enough. Like, Dumbledore must be like, actually, Hagrid, yeah, let me come and get that bugger. He's the one who betrayed us all, and his best friend's dead for it. But no, he's like, yeah, okay, mate, see you later. And also, at this point, surely Sirius has committed the crimes. If Hagrid's flown across, like, again, the sort of timeline of this is really weird. The sort of timeline of it happening last night, getting it out, getting over here in that amount of time. Sirius does it the day after, so he's doing it on this day, and he would have already done that. And surely Dumbledore's spidey senses should have tingled or something. I don't know, but yeah, it's just something I've discovered. I want to get across. I shall see you soon, I expect, Professor McGonagall said. Yeah, because you work together. You'll see her the next morning at the school. I'm like, hopefully, she's teaching, because she needs to teach. Yeah, again, just like, I'll see you soon, probably. Where you off to Dumbledore? Oh, Dumbledore things. He walked around the corner, took out the silver put-outer, he clicked it once, and 12 balls of light sped to the street lamps. The privet drive goes suddenly orange. He could make out a tabby cat slinking off, so McGonagall's gone back to cat mode, and he goes, good luck, Harry. And again, I think I actually prefer the movie where it's like, good. Richard Harris, sorry, not Richard Griffiths, who played Vernon. Good luck, Harry Potter. I love that as he stepped on, and obviously the music swells. I actually prefer the good luck, Harry Potter, just a good luck, Harry, he murmured. He turned on his heels, and with a swish of his cloak, he was gone. So he's apparated, but obviously on the way there, he says he popped that thing out, but it's like he passed a dozen parties. Did he go and check on people on his way here? Like, oh, I've got to go and check on all my orders members. Not Sirius Black, though. I don't know, but yeah. And then a breeze ruffles the neat hedges of Privet Drive, which lay silent. Harry Potter rolled over inside the blankets without waking up. One hand on the letter, not knowing he would be famous, not knowing in a few hours' times he would be woken up by Mrs. Dursley's scream. I'd love to see that, maybe in the TV show, just like that realization. There's a baby. Oh my god, it's my nephew. Oh no, and like, that letter must be so convincing, because I just don't see the Dursleys taking him in. Like, drop it. That must have, obviously, it definitely does. Dumbledore puts a lot of force, and obviously it's a bit of a howl, like, you've got to do this. Probably tugs at the heartstrings a bit. That Petunia masks, because Petunia definitely masks some of the stuff. As we learn later on, she wanted to go to Hogwarts. She actually wanted to be a witch at one point, right into Dumbledore herself, and that jealousy took over. But this part of her definitely would have loved her sister still. And then, yeah, I'd love to see that. Just that reaction. Like, even them early days, like that first few days, like, yeah, where Dudley he's getting pinched and prodded by Dudley, like, what the hell's this? It just seems, yeah, that letter must have been so strongly worded, and probably a curse on it or something like, if you don't take him, your son will be cursed. I don't know. That's something like I can imagine Dumbledore doing. And then obviously the reason this chapter is called The Boy Who Lived is because in secret all over the country, people were holding up their glasses and saying in hushed voices to Harry Potter, the boy who lived. And what a first chapter. Like I say, we see a bit of magic. Like, surely a kid, again, I can't remember, like, watching it. It's like, oh, well, because there's no mention of wizardry. It's not in the title. It's called Philosophers. It's like there's a bit of magic going on, like McGonagall turning from witch cat to human, back to cat. Dumbledore with his pot outer, a flying motorbike. But no one says for a wizard, witch. You know, they could just be magicians. Yeah. And obviously we hear about Voldemort, and obviously we've got this baby Harry. I just think we make some of obviously the key cast. We've got our villain set up, obviously lurking in the background while he's gone. So surely this story's not going to be about Voldemort. It's just going to be Harry go to school. But it's just such a good introduction. I think using Hagrid, McGonagall, and Dumbledore as your introduction is really good. And like I say, obviously, one thing I do like, again, this is from the Super Carlin brothers, and it's one of their. I remember when they put this theory out. So this is probably like 2017. So we're going on 10 years. They went to like the History and Magic in the London Museum. I remember watching the documentary from Stephen Fry, really good BBC documentary on the real history of Harry Potter. And obviously the Philosopher's Stone, spoiler alert, guys, was a proposed real item that certain people tried to make, including a certain Nicholas Flamel back in the like 1200s. And obviously, the way to make a philosopher's stone, you need like a black, white, and red stone for some of the stuff, like black, white, and red. And obviously, Harry Potter is the philosopher's stone because the three components of Harry Potter, like the three father figures of Harry Potter, is Sirius Black for the black, Rubeus Hagrid, Rubeus, Ruby, red, and Albus, which means white in some languages, including Madagascan or something crazy like that. So Albus, white, and obviously you put them three together. Philosopher's Stone makes you immortal. Who came back from the dead? Who survived death in this chapter? Harry Potter. Who survives death at the net in like pretty much every story? Harry Potter. Harry Potter is the Philosopher's Stone. Like I say, that's back in like the Super Carlin Brothers heyday. I love Jane Ben, but obviously now it does become harder when there's not new material. But that is one I really do appreciate and really do like. That Harry Potter himself is like an embodiment of the Philosopher's Stone with the three sort of things there. And I'll probably try and incorporate some of like the real history. I might go back and watch that and just make some notes because I'm sure stuff will come up as we go along. Obviously, some of the characters we'll meet will look at back of their story. So yeah, that has been Chapter 1, The Boy Who Lived. I've had an absolute blast talking about it. I can't believe I talked for like 50 minutes on it for like what? An 18-page well, not even that. 7, 8, so 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 11 and a half page chapter. We managed to squeeze 50 minutes out of it because there's so much detail and there's so much stuff to look forward to, come back on. I'd love to hear all your thoughts, guys, on the chapter. What is your favourite part about it? Is it one of your favourite chapters from the book? What's your least favourite chapter? Obviously, we'll probably touch on mine when we get to it. But next time out, we're going to the zoo and we're going to hear Harry do some magic and see how he's doing 10 years later in chapter 2, The Vanishing Glass. But that is it for today's podcast. I hope you've enjoyed. We'll be back Wednesday where we'll be reviewing the behind the scenes sort of TV show from the Harry Potter show, which is mad because it's just being announced about half an hour ago on Thursday when I'm recording this. And yeah, we're going to be reviewing that, talking about that and seeing what's what. And because it's weird to have a behind the scenes of a show that's not even come out yet. And it doesn't come out for like another 8 months, which is a bit odd, but there we go. That's what we're reviewing then. And then, of course, next Friday, it's Chapter 2, The Vanishing Glass. Do like, subscribe, comment, share, hype the video, guys. Press that hype button now. And I will see you all very soon. Have a good day. Bye-bye.